You know, if you ask pretty much any fan this question, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the same answer. And don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic answer. But what if it's not the only answer? What if the character who gets the most screen time and has this amazing, obvious growth isn't necessarily the most psychologically tangled one?
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go!
So, here's the argument we're going to explore. While Prince Zuko, without a doubt, has the best character development, a full-on journey from villain to hero, his sister, Princess Azula, might actually be the more complex character of the two. Let's unpack that.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the Redemption King himself. Zuko's journey is legendary, right? It's pretty much a masterclass in how to write a character arc, taking him from this angry, conflicted antagonist to a true hero. And look, as perfectly as Zuko's arc is done, it still follows a path we recognize, the villain to hero trope. Azula's journey, though, that is something else entirely. It's this messy, tragic, psychological downward spiral that is anything but predictable. To really get to the bottom of Azula's complexity, we have to go all the way back to her childhood.
I still think our dad would make a much better Fire Lord than his royal tea-loving kookiness.
Now, this show paints this picture of a cruel, calculating prodigy from day one. But what if that's not the whole story? This right here, this is the absolute core of her psychology. Azula isn't a monster because she was born that way. She was made into one by nurture, or more accurately, a complete lack of it. Her entire personality was forged in this desperate, totally unfulfilled quest to just feel loved. And think about it for a second. Nearly every flashback we see of their childhood is from Zuko's point of view. It's totally biased. So was she really a cruel child or just a really dominant clique leader type? Were her pranks with fire actually evil or just a kid messing around in a nation where, playing with fire is kind of normal? This context really makes you second-guess your first impression of her. So how did she end up like this? Well, it was like a psychological chain reaction. Step 1, Azula desperately wants her mother's attention. But she sees her mom, Ursa, focusing on Zuko. So, feeling rejected, she turns to her father, Ozai. But Ozai only gives out praise for perfection and power. Over time, that praise becomes the only substitute for affection she ever gets. And here's the most important part. She never, ever learns what real love actually is. And that one fundamental misunderstanding, it becomes the bedrock of her entire worldview. It ends up shaping every relationship she has, all of her ambitions, and her methods for controlling everything and everyone around her. This is exactly why she becomes such a ruthless perfectionist. It's not just about ego. For Azula, being the best, the strongest, the most flawless, that is the only way she knows how to earn what she thinks is love. She's trying to fill this massive emotional hole with trophies and admiration. And because she just can't wrap her head around genuine love, she fully adopts her father's brutal philosophy. She looks at the affection her mother and Iroh show Zuko, and she just writes it off as weakness. To her, power, control, fear, those things are real. They're tangible. They're the only tools her father ever taught her to use, and they're the only ones she trusts. The consequences of this philosophy are just devastating. She can't build any real friendships because she thinks loyalty is just something you maintain through fear. She actually pushes away people like Iroh who offer her real affection because her entire internal operating system screams that it's a trap. Now, for most of the series, Azula's system, it works. She is powerful, she is feared, and she is in control. But then comes the boiling rock, and that's where the foundation of her entire world gets completely shattered by the two people she thought she had total control over. This is her mantra. This is her core belief, the principle she has built her entire life on. She believes, with every fiber of her being, that by making Mai entirely fear her, she has their unbreakable loyalty. And then Mai says this.
I love Zuko more than I fear you.
This single line is a wrecking ball to Azula's psyche. It isn't just defiance. It's a direct, point-blank refutation of her life's philosophy. Mai introduces a variable that Azula's brain just cannot compute, love being stronger than fear. So this betrayal proves, in the most personal and painful way possible, that her entire understanding of power and loyalty is just wrong. Fear, the only tool she ever bothered to master, failed her. And this is the question that finally breaks her. With her core belief system totally destroyed, she's left with nothing. She has no answer to this question, no backup philosophy, nothing to fall back on. And this is the trigger for her complete mental unraveling. She has no one to trust, and worse, no idea how to build it.
So, this brings us to the final comparison. When you put Zuko's heroic rise right next to Azula's tragic fall, you see two profoundly different kinds of character journeys. Zuko's whole journey is about redemption. He's building himself up and he finds peace. Azula's journey is one of complete disintegration. She's tearing herself apart and she ends up totally unstable. His external quest was about restoring his honor. Her internal quest, whether she ever realized it or not, was about finding love. He finds his place in the world. She completely loses hers.
And that brings us right back to the central idea. Zuko's arc is an incredible story of growth and development, but Azula's story is a deep psychological case study of a broken person just shattering into a million pieces. And that internal collapse, you can argue it's a far more complex story to tell.